gotta think about it. I still don't have it. I want to change things up.
Glub motherfuckers is after the hype.
I do want to make it episode or movie themed, so that one works. Glub motherfuckers. Welcome to After the Hype.
I thought you were getting rid of the motherfuckers.
Oh, I'm getting rid of fuck yes.
Okay.
It's a different usage of fuck.
Yeah.
Wait, is this your second podcast of the day?
Second of the day, yeah. How can you tell?
What did you do the first time? Well, because it's noon. It's late.
Oh, the first one we just rambled until I said we're starting now, and it didn't go very well. So this one's actually kind of going the same because I'm leaving 100% of this in.
Let's all make fish noises. Blub blub
Blub.
blub blub
Blub blub.
Blip.
I'm
Just
Julie
keep
Andrews.
swimming.
Wobble.
blub, blub, blub.
Just keep swimming.
Yeah, perfect. So that's our intro for this week After the Hype. Me, your host, is always Brian Dressel. With me, as always, is Jonathan Hardesty.
Hi.
And Chewie Darso.
Hello.
This week, piping in from north of the wall, Canada, we Mr. Ryan James.
Hello.
I like making
I'm
Game of Thrones
back.
jokes after Game of Thrones is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're all here. We're all here.
Game of Thrones jokes will never end or never get old.
I'm going to miss the memes in the moment, though.
Yeah.
I know.
On the Monday morning meme session, it's just the best.
Talk about another promise that didn't happen.
The
It
memes
should be
happened.
snowing at King's Landing right now, but it's not.
Oh, well, no, because winter ended in the
Well,
third
the
episode.
dragon's also there, too, so the snow is gone.
Yeah. Winter started and ended in one episode. What are you talking about? That was
The
pretty clear-cut.
season was still supposed to happen,
I
not
don't
just
think
the
so.
Night King.
I think it was just the Night King.
Winter
That's
came,
not Ash.
winter
That's
left.
not Ash.
Yeah.
Even though it started snowing at wherever Sam was, where all the
The Citadel?
yeah
Yeah.
it started snowing there.
That's not ash. That's snow. What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
But we're done with Game of
Tangent.
Thrones. We're here on the other side of it now.
We
where we've all
survived.
seen how it ended, and we're all disappointed by it,
Yeah,
right?
pretty
Except for
much.
Ryan. Ryan loved it.
I had a great time. I loved
Yeah,
it.
I figured. We're no, I'm not going to say it. We're going to move into a quick. We're just going to go straight to where have you been doing. I was going to do a plug session, but it doesn't really seem worth it right now.
No.
I was just going to plug after the hype, so really I don't have much to talk about.
Yeah, so that doesn't do anything for us. 'cause
Never
we're
even
already
heard of
here.
the show, so
Yeah.
it doesn't even matter.
So we'll move right into where have you been doing, and I can go first as usual, and I will talk this week about God of War, that little game that came out 2018, early 2018, and I finally just played it, and it's really, 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 really good, and I can't recommend it high enough to anyone. But I don't want to kind of go on and on because I feel like people already have for that game, and they just were all right, and I should have listened to them earlier. But it's fantastic. That's it for me.
Cool. I'll go next. I don't have much to say about it other than what maybe Brian has said before, but I finished reading the audiobook of It.
You read the audiobook?
Yeah, I read it.
In his mind.
In my mind, I read it. It was fun. It was read by Steven Weber, so kind of he's been on other Stephen King things. I think he was even Jack Torrance in the miniseries of It or The Shining. And yeah, it was good. It was good until a certain point,
Yeah.
and that point was just what the fuck. I don't know if I should spoil it or not, but
Spoiler away, it's not going to be in the movie. They
Yeah.
already said they're not doing it.
yeah, they decided to do a gangbang in the dark to get all their powers back. Out of nowhere, suddenly Beverly is like, I gotta bang y'all to give you your powers back, and it just came out of nowhere as I'm stuck in traffic, being like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
They don't even set it up. They don't even explain it.
No reason why she would know that.
But man, do they go into vivid detail.
I've never felt so awkward in my car before as I did, like,
Listening to somebody describe the size of a 12-year-old's dick. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really fucked
let
up.
alone like
When you roll up your windows, yeah.
like it was a Herculean effort from Steven Weber to not like make it worse. I mean, I can't imagine him in the sound booth that day recording that.
When she starts critiquing which one of them is better, it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, and then there's so many things, and then it just kind of leaves that segment, and then never to be referenced or talked about again, and
Good.
it's so weird.
Let's never speak of it again.
I'm just honestly surprised that they don't edit that out of the book. You guys make it sound so unimportant.
Well, Stephen King books and editing.
Yeah. He
Right.
only adds things in. He doesn't
Yeah.
take things out.
But that's it. That's all I got. That
Cool.
weird gangbang scene
What
in it.
What if you left the pages in, but you redact it?
The scene left.
The
or this page was
redacted
Just
blank.
version
covered
of
in
it.
black.
Yeah.
William Barr presents Stephen King's It. Ryan, what about you? Where have you been doing? We haven't heard from you in forever.
Yeah, I just watched Bohemian Rhapsody last night, but it seems like you guys really covered how bad that was on your episode.
Oh,
so
we covered it.
let me go back a little bit. A few weeks ago, I read the collected Kingdom Come, the DC event. That is a really, really good book, a really good story. If you aren't aware of it, it is kind of a tale of the superheroes you know and love, like Superman and Green Lantern, are retired and kind of made way for a new generation of heroes who kind of don't uphold the code that Superman set in place of trying to do good and not kill anybody, and they're kind of ruthless vigilantes. And then it's all told through the eyes of this narrator, kind of on a Christmas story like journey through time and space. Anyway, art by Alex Ross. I could just look at his art all day, and the story is fantastic.
I've never actually read that one. I really should. I've always meant to.
Oh, you really should. Yeah.
Chewie.
My where have I been doing is I have been slowly rewatching Sleepy Hollow again.
Ooh.
Just because I really enjoyed that show as it was airing. I don't think I fully realized how much I enjoyed that show until, again, a rewatch. And I'm really excited to see the guy who plays Ichabod. I think his name was Tom. I'm forgetting right now. He is now going to be playing the mime in HBO's Wanted, and I'm super excited to see him be in something else. I said Watchmen, right?
You said Wanted.
Oh, Watchmen. And if you never saw Sleepy Hollow while it was airing, it was a beautiful time in TV.
Yeah.
Where we had Sleepy Hollow and Grimm and American Horror and just all these, like, they were really trying to do primetime horror shows. And some of them failed, and some of them grabbed their audience and
then failed? Yeah. American Horror Story.
Yeah, and then failed.
They just held on for as long as they could.
Yeah.
Still hold it on.
Grimm, I think, did better fandom-wise than Sleepy Hollow, but Sleepy Hollow is still a great Monster of the Week with an overarching storyline, and I highly recommend it to anyone who has any interest in, like, historical, religious, science fiction period shows.
Double feature picture show.
Yeah, like, there's so much going. I mean, there's so much going on in Sleepy Hollow. It's kind of a period show, but kind of not. Kind of sci-fi, kind of not. Kind of horror, kind of not. Kind of monster, kind of religious, kind of patriotic, kind of, like, you know, alternate history of America.
And this show didn't last?
It got, like, 4 seasons. The last season wasn't good because the main actress left.
Yeah.
And then
That's about when I bounced.
They tried to replace her, and then they changed the setting of the show to DC instead of Sleepy Hollow. It just didn't work.
Yeah, when you move it from Sleepy Hollow to somewhere else, it kind of, it's like, we got to have a different show, guys.
It was just not good.
Worked for Lost is all I'm gonna say. But you can't
Worked?
all be.
You can't use lost and worked in the same sentence.
Yes, I can.
Sad stare off into the distance.
Yeah. Oh. That's why Game of Thrones can never fully upset me, because I've already been through this.
Yeah, you've already been through it like
that's
once
how
before.
I feel too.
Yeah. That's everybody, right?
Yeah.
Time to start diving under the sea, going through the ocean.
Under the sea.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah. So today we are talking finally about Aquaman. I've been
waiting
wanting to talk about Aquaman on this show for far too long, and here we are. But before we dive in, we do need a breakdown to happen, and I feel like just us here in America just can't do it right. I think it has to come from somebody in Canada.
Yeah.
Right?
Do we have someone from Canada here?
I don't know. Where are you right now?
Canada.
Yeah, there you are.
I wanted to make the crash joke that we do know someone who's stooping a Canuck.
So this week's Aquaman breakdown is going to come from Canada, from Ryan James.
All the way over the internet.
In a long time. I am not prepared, although
Perfect.
I did watch the movie today. So if I fail, you can make fun of me extra hard.
I mean, we were already going to, so
I know, yeah,
that's
I know.
fine. So here we go. Ryan, you ready?
No.
Perfect. Aquaman in 30 seconds. Here we go, 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 go!
All right, we got a mermaid lady who washes up on a pier, and she falls in love with the fisherman who is on that pier, and they have a little baby, and his name is Aquaman. And then she gets attacked by the people where she's from in Atlantis, and she has to go back there, leaving Aquaman to grow up alone. And then he does grow up alone and comes to find out his brother is trying to take over Atlantis and attack the surface world. He has to get his mom's magic trident and stop him. No, his
I don't know if you cut out
grandfather's
or
magic trident.
Oh, there you
Somebody's
go.
magic trident.
you cut out for like half of a second, and it was kind of perfect timing. 'Cause you came in right at the end again. So I'm gonna say that was a success because I honestly don't know if it was or wasn't.
I think I wrapped up. It's the usual. I took 25 seconds to talk about the first act, and then I covered the rest of the movie in 5.
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. So
That's the Ryan special.
yeah, and then in the editing, it will sound like that was all perfect, and just the internet let us down. But that's fine. That's what editing's for.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into this one. I'm not going to end ever with the dive jokes. I want to talk kind of like where we were before this came out and where we are now. Because for the average moviegoer, DC had been kind of so far. And I was in the minority of going, no, they're still great. No, I love them. Please stop hating everything I love. And then this one came out, and everyone's like, no, that one's pretty good. And I'm like, yeah, it was. Just like all the other ones. But fine, at least you're on board for this one.
Yeah.
But since, Ryan, you said when we first started talking about this that you think it saved the DCU, I wanted you to jump on board first or dive into it first or other water puns first.
Spring into it.
Yeah, spring.
Well, I think this one really whet my appetite. That's a different kind of wet.
Goodness.
No, it works because of Momoa.
Yeah.
These are just for Chewie. But anyway, I'm right there with you. Like, I feel like I wasn't totally on the train of hating every single thing that they were putting out, like Batman vs. Superman and Justice League. They were fine. The Chewie, the noise Chewie is making in response to me is how I felt about those movies. Suicide Squad is pretty bad. We're going to breeze right over that one. Then I think Wonder Woman came in and did pretty good, but this one was the first one I watched that I went, fuck yes, that's like a superhero movie. Maybe a little long, but otherwise gave me a lot of great heroic moments mixed in with some comedy. And this is something that, unfortunately, this is going down on record, and I can't hide that I've said this, but I am getting a little bit sick of the Marvel movie formula.
Ha!
I'm a huge Marvel fanboy, and I loved all those movies, but 22 movies later, and they all feel pretty much the same. So watching some of these DC movies succeed is really nice.
Well, yeah, and the idea that the Marvel movies are kind of been a little samey, I think that's been kind of apparent since Phase 2, and it's just whether or not you like the formula. And for the most part, I like the formula, so I can sit down for a Marvel movie and enjoy it almost every time. I can even like some more than others because I know what I'm sitting down for, and it was still enjoyable. But that's what I've really grown to love about the DC movies is that as of right now, there is no formula. Like there is no set, like it's going to do this, this, and this, and there's your movie. Each one of these has been pretty different.
You don't know what you're going to get, yeah.
Yeah, like even this one is kind of an origin story, but also not because it takes place after Justice League when Aquaman's already been established. Everyone, from the beginning of the movie, everyone calls him Aquaman.
Right.
Right. That's actually what I was going to talk about that. Something that I love is that DC really leans into the fact that they're making comic book movies. Like, how many Marvel movies did it take until we started referring to the title characters as their name? Like, Iron Man, I guess, got away with it, but, it took until, like, the Avengers team up to actually hear the superhero names more regularly. And
even then, it's still
Did they ever
light.
call Natasha Black Widow?
No.
And they've never called.
Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch has never been Scarlet Witch.
Right.
A lot. Like there's been a lot of them. Like Hawkeye always got it. Or he was called the Hawk or something like that. But he always
They always try to be cute about it and like dance around the superhero names.
Avengers credits.
Yeah, and the superhero names and the superhero costumes and all of it. And DC, at least, I mean, God bless them, they are not. Aquaman wears the Aquaman suit. I mean, it's definitely souped up to look like the movie, but man, he looked good in it.
Right. And what I loved about this, like you said, this wasn't an origin story. It felt like a classic hero's journey. Like he has these powers and these abilities and this destiny or whatever, and he tries to reject it until everything he loves is actually in danger, and then he goes off to save the world. It's really cool.
Yeah, and it works. And like they said that the two films that inspired it the most were Indiana Jones and Romancing the Stone, and it's like,
Yep, I saw that immediately.
That tracks. It works. But just more kind of about the actual character, because it's true. It's not an origin story, but you also kind of have it tucked in there a little bit too. And
it's a maturing story.
Yeah, it's almost more coming of age than it is like an origin, because he has his powers from the get-go. And when Volko shows up to teach him how to use it, it's more just kind of like a training montage, as opposed to like, look, you can talk to fish and you can do this and you can do that. It's more just like, you can do that. Let me show you how to do it better. And even that, they spend all of 5 minutes on it, maybe.
Yeah, they did this kind of anime thing where it's like, we're going to flash back to your training after someone says a key word that makes you think back to your time of training. And I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, it worked. But I liked the training stuff. I wish the kid actors were as good as Momoa as Aquaman. I thought all of them were a little lacking.
Hard.
Yeah,
that's hard because he is like oozing charisma just everywhere.
Yeah,
and no one in the movie can really match it.
No, I think Amber Heard does a very good job, and she did better than I ever thought she would have. But yeah, she's the straight man to his Looney Tunes. But it worked. I thought she did a really good job with it. Sorry,
but I agree. Yeah, the whole. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I wanted to ask you about the comic book adaptation. Have you read any Aquaman comics in your?
I've read a lot. I've also read the John's run that this one's loosely based on.
Oh, okay. So my history of comic books is like when I was a kid, I used to collect the trading cards. Like that's how I got introduced to all these characters. And straight out of any trading cards or imagery, Black Manta looks awesome. He is spot on.
Yeah.
Aquaman, when he suits up, he looks great, even though the hair and the beard is a little different. I just want to ask you, does this nail the tone of Aquaman?
Depending on which one you read, like they're all so different. As far as nailing, I mean, Johns was a producer on this one, so I'd kind of expect it to hit that tone, and it nails his storyline. But if you're reading like the current one, the one that came out right with the movie that's being written by Kelly Sue DeConnick, it could not be more different. Like that one is it's almost like that one leans more in like the Thor references than this one does, because that one is like, it's very like heavy gods, and there's a god of water that he has to fight, and it's all very stoic and serious. But if you go to like other versions of Aquaman, he's kind of funny and quippy. But it's never, I don't know how else to describe it. Like this feels very much like a John's comic book, and I think that was the point. And I think they did a good job with that. It doesn't feel
very
like,
cool.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a normal Aquaman book, but I don't think there really is a normal Aquaman book. There might be comic book fans out there screaming about me saying that right now, but
right. No, I'm sure there are classics, but you know,
get their petitions ready.
I felt the same way about Shazam. Like Shazam was a direct adaptation of John's run on that. So.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you can definitely see his influence on these two movies specifically. But kind of talking about John's and kind of talking about a little bit Shazam. I don't want to spoil anything, of course. We will later when it hits Blu-ray. There's something that DC is doing now that I think is incredibly important, and this is the real first shot we get of it. They're done copying Marvel, which is great. They should have done that from the get-go because they're very different companies. But the thing that they're doing differently is that they're going after two different specific audiences that Marvel has never even attempted. The first one's going to piss you off. I'm sorry. The second one won't. They're going after women, which Marvel has not given a shit about at all, ever, except for 30 seconds of Endgame and the most like ridiculous.
But still, that doesn't actually mean they care about women. That's
they just care about looking like they care about women.
More like a pat on the head. Look, you're important.
Yeah. Here you are. Finally, we gave you the thing. Now shut up.
Yeah. Here's your cookie. So women, and then they're caring about horror fans, which I think is awesome. And they're doing it very well in a way that doesn't make it feel like a horror movie, but you can see it on the edges of both Shazam and Aquaman. Aquaman a little bit more than Shazam, I think, mostly just because of the trench sequence, which is getting its own horror movie spinoff.
Right.
But I really like that tone, and I like that angle, and I think it's been done really, really well. But instead of just keep talking about how great it is to women, we should probably let the woman at the table talk about it.
One defining feature of this movie that I love is that it flips the script on a lot of conventions. Because we've had, like, at the very beginning with Atlanta, that's her name?
Yeah.
Atlanta. I don't remember.
Yeah, Atlanta.
We've done the dude washes ashore, woman saves him, brings him back to health. They fall in love, but then he has to leave her with his child. We've done that so many times, and we flipped it this time. Totally flipped it. And I like, especially on a rewatch, just the moment when the explosion happens, she takes Arthur, hands him to her husband, and just says, hide him. And then she just stares daggers at her adversaries and beats the shit out of them.
Oh, yeah. Nicole Kidman fucking rocks
great.
that house.
It's wonderful. And it's almost exactly what we've seen 1,000 times with a man in that role. And then we come back to, or not come back to, but then we, go into the future, and then we have Mara. She's not coming to him for romance. She's going, your brother's about to kill people, and I can't let that happen, so now I need to use you to stop this.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is...
Yeah. And these are two women with very obvious goals, their own goals, that they came up with without any male influence.
Yeah.
Do we have that in Marvel movies? We've had it once, but she's still influenced by men the entire time on what she should be doing.
I'm sure someone could burst a blood vessel trying to weave around saying that Marvel, trying to convince you that Marvel does. But
yeah.
No.
Okay. The closest we get is Gamora, but a lot of it has to do with her daddy issues with Thanos.
Right.
Right.
And I do really
all of her
love
issues are surrounding a man. That's
Yeah.
And that's not saying that like the men don't have a very important part in the Aquaman movie, but the fact that there actually are fully fledged, and not just one,
two specific females that have their own agendas.
Yeah. There was something I was going to say when you were talking about that I really wanted to, and now I forgot what it was. Bummer.
I don't know. But
something that I loved about it was especially during that fight scene where Aquaman first challenges his brother, and then Mera has to come in and save him. Like watching that, you're like, whoa, she didn't really need Aquaman at all, except for the fact that he is like whatever the true heir to the
he can
throne
talk
or
to
whatever.
Fish.
Yeah, but
Like,
she didn't even know that.
That's true. Yeah.
She found out after that sequence.
Yeah, well,
She just kicked
that's what
Orm's
the
ass
important
with her
thing. She
water
thinks it's the
powers.
royalty thing that it needs because she's not his royalty.
Sure.
So, but then in the end, it needed to be that he could talk to the not Kraken. I keep forgetting its name.
Julie Andrews.
Julie
Just called it
Andrews.
Kraken.
Or just Julie Andrews.
Kraken Andrews.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, she knew that it wasn't her position. She needed to find the person that she could use to do that position so that she could use them. That was the whole thing. She was never
Yeah.
romantically inclined with him
No, just
until you get to, they have a few cute moments, and it's not forced. Like, it actually seems organic when they're actually having some attraction to each other.
They gave it time.
yeah. The only one that I was kind of like, you guys have more important fish to fry.
Was when they make out.
When they make out in
Yeah.
the middle of the war, it's like you could have given a quick kiss for good luck. But you didn't need to do the full makeout session.
Although I think
But
that moment was also in step with everything else surrounding the Aquaman movie and
Yeah.
what its whole idea was about, just taking things and going over the top with them.
Yeah, not to just completely rip off honest trailers, but there's so much movie in this movie. It's just like they're not wrong. Like the whole makeout sequence, like it's huge, and it's the explosions all around them, and it's gorgeous, and it's shot so well.
It's
the
a
effects are
comic
so
book
good.
splash page.
Yeah, and-
I mean,
Yeah.
it's so comic booky. And again, at the end, when he defeats his brother, and then Mera presents him.
Yeah.
Mera's like, I present to you, you're king of Atlantis, da 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 da. And she's not, and she's doing it with a very like strong voice.
Yeah, it's very like Paul Bentley from
it's like
Knight's
she's
Tale.
very masculine in the way she's doing it. She is presenting him like
Yeah.
it's almost like it's her victory.
And she is this beautiful, like, this is your king, all hail your king, and then the king speaks and he's just burn.
Exactly.
That sums up the movie perfectly.
Yeah.
I think at a certain point, I'll admit in the beginning it was a little bit tough to get into it just because I was like, okay, well, I'm not sure what movie this is going to be. I've kind of ignored most of the hype around this, other than people liked it more than other ones.
Sure.
So then be like, well, what kind of movie am I in for? Is this going to try to be self-serious? Is it going to go off the rails? And as it went off the rails, it became more and more the Amber Heard and show, and I really got behind that because that dynamic worked really well and kind of helped everything else around it work for me. All the kind of the over the top moments, the lore dumps, the things that just without that kind of weird chemistry that they had together, without all that, just wouldn't have stuck together.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like really went unsaid with a lot of the praise of this movie was how well the two of them worked together.
Yeah.
Because coming into this, I really knew Amber Heard from maybe a movie.
I didn't know her from anything.
I saw her Bret Easton Ellis movie, where it's just basically Amber Heard has sex with the cast of the Bret Easton Ellis movie. It was bad.
I think that was the title of it too.
Yeah, I don't remember the title of it, but that's all the movie really was. So it just wasn't a good movie. So I really didn't have that much hope for her. Like I just kind of like, I mean, she looks good in the role. Like I've seen her in the costume. She wears the costume well. I mean, I imagine that she would, but I didn't really expect much from her, and she really kind of blew
And the
me
trailer
away.
didn't promise you very much for her.
No, and
I don't know how much of range she has as an actress because this is the only thing I've seen her in.
Yeah,
But she's good at the camp.
yeah.
She's very good at the camp.
Like her sequence with the Italy fight, which we'll get more into like the specific fights and like the action sequences here in a moment, but like her moments in the Italy fight were great. You never once went, how is she going to do this? You believed her as a hero throughout the whole thing, and that's hard to pull off.
You found yourself more interested in being like, okay, camera, go back to her. And then, like, weirdly enough, the camera listened to you in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, we're going back to her. Cool.
They really,
yeah.
and that especially the Italy fight, they really let them share the action sequence, which was great. It wasn't about one of them saving the other one. It was just they're both going to do their own thing, and it's really Mara's going to hold her own, and Aquaman's going to get the shit kicked out of him again. And I really did like the whole movie. Like he says it at the end, he's like, "I've just been getting my ass kicked this whole trip," and he's like, he's not wrong.
Yeah. And just those sequences reminded me a lot of the Mummy movies.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And that, like I said to Brian a few times when rewatching, I'm like, if Brendan Fraser just ran past right now screaming off in like some other thing, I would have laughed and it wouldn't have broken any beat of the movie.
Could you just run by as Robot Man, just going, "What the fuck?"
Or just like running by with a trinket with a bald man chasing him, like,
No, 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 no.
And
Just outrunning the sun.
this movie has during the Italy sequence when Mara's fighting has one of my favorite moments in all of comic book movies.
Yeah.
When she falls into the wine store and this woman whose superpower is to control liquids suddenly summons a wave of red liquid to turn into spears to destroy the men chasing her, and it is just glorious. Like how other women haven't latched onto this amazing symbolism of just menstrual blood destroying men, I don't know. It needs to be celebrated.
On the other hand, I was so sad for that nice Italian wine.
No, is what they were meant for.
those soldiers experienced
No,
the wine
that's
one way or
awesome.
another. So
Yeah.
I really like that you can look into symbolism like that and get some awesome content out of that. And I'm just watching it like, hey, pretty lady shoot man with spear,
But I think that's kind of why people have latched onto this movie more than the other ones, is because there are those moments that you're like, ooh, what does that mean? Oh, what are they trying to say there? Which you don't get in comic book movies very often. And I'm not trying to say that this is some super cerebral, like thinking man's comic book movie. It's not. It is.
No.
It is dumb as rocks, but very, very fun. But the fact that those moments are in there is very impressive.
And that's kind of what the Marvel movies are missing now in this kind of more conglomerated stage of just there's a vision behind it. There's these moments can kind of seep through into the movie.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a dumb popcorn action superhero thing, but they can throw these ones in there because they're not like hamstrung by anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's probably to the horror aspect that you were talking about before. Just being able to, there was a lot of camera work and just choreography here that felt such a command of it. I was very drawn into that part of it.
I mean, and that's James Wan for you. I mean, you watch anything he makes, like the way he just controls the camera through the edits, through everything like that. He's very good at that stuff, and like that's why he was the right choice for this guy, for this movie specifically, because they offered him both this and The Flash, and he went, Aquaman seems like the underdog and the bigger challenge. I want to challenge myself. I'm going for Aquaman, and I'm so happy.
Well, yeah.
He did.
And you can't really make a horror movie out of The Flash the way you can make some horror elements and some action and some brutality out of Aquaman.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's also the other one that I remember what I was going to say earlier when you were talking about it. Nicole Kidman was already offered a role in the DC universe, and she's like, no, it just doesn't seem right. But then with James Wan attached to something, she immediately jumped at it. He didn't even have to
Awesome.
barely even had to have a conversation with her. She's like, "Oh, James Wan, I love James Wan, I'll do it." Patty Jenkins did not get that response. She was supposed to be Wonder Woman's mom, and she's like, "No."
Well, that actually I'm fine with that because I love Nicole Kidman, but she I don't think that would have been
But there's
right for her.
when you're approached to play a role of someone's mom, you already kind of know what to expect. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
right.
do you want to sit here and phone it in for a movie? Or do you want to do something with a little bit extra, something more? And this movie gave more.
She was able to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was great.
She got that
and on
opening
that
scene.
note, it's still annoying to me that James Wan is not praised more in the zeitgeist, I don't know if that's the right word, of film. Because we're always talking about representation and getting more than just stuffy old white men out there. And we have this amazing young Asian American director, and I don't feel like anyone really talks about him in that way.
He's one of
maybe
only,
he doesn't want to be talked about that way. Maybe he doesn't want to.
but he's only one of I think maybe 3 or 4 people who has 2 movies that have reached over $1 billion.
And it's amazing.
Really?
Yeah, the list of people who have especially from different franchises, the fact
Right.
that it's totally separated. There's not a lot of them, and he's one of the only
That's
ones.
awesome. I can't wait to keep seeing what he's doing. I mean, I think he probably is living in a weird space, kind of among James Gunn out there, because
Yeah.
he has had these couple waves that peaked over the box office marks, but he lives in this cult classic horror movie world most of the time.
But I feel like both him and James Gunn, it's a really good comparison because they both just kind of started peeking their heads out of their their little rabbit holes and feel like, oh wow, they're talented.
Yeah.
Right.
For
different
Gunn
reasons.
came out of
Oh, very
Troma,
different, yeah.
and James Wong started torture porn, right?
I mean, I'm not sure if he started it. He made it more popular.
He
for
made
sure.
it more
Well, yeah.
popular. Yeah.
With Saw, he definitely did.
Yeah.
That was the big breakout.
Yeah.
And he was immediately emulated. If you think about
yeah.
Hostel and all those movies that came out trying to just exactly copy Saw.
Just trying to chase his coattails. That's been his career,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
And he's matured because
Oh, yeah.
I don't like. At first, I was into torture porn because I liked the first Saw movie, and then it just devolved into let's torture women.
Yeah.
And he totally just went, I'm gonna go do better things.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go do Insidious and The Conjuring and not just
Yeah.
just torture women for money.
But it seems like he has that challenge himself, kind of trying to strive for more energy
Yeah.
that movies in this genre, in this field need.
Yeah.
They need it now more than ever with the flooding of all these movies. It's just
Flooding.
someone, flooding. Woohoo, I got one. I got one. But yeah, they need someone who demands more out of it, wants to try to push himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that I think he pushed the hardest in this one, and that's where I want to move next, because for me, I think it's upsetting. I'm legitimately upset by this, and it's how good the movie looks.
Oh,
Yeah.
The movie, it pops in a way that no other comic book movie, in my recollection, has ever just looked just so vibrant. I think Ragnarok would probably be my close second, but that one really stuck to a very strict color palette.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't able to just go full rainbow. And this one, it had a color palette for every place it was
Yeah.
in, but there was no color palette for the movie. And I think that just gave it this extra gleam to it that was just gorgeous.
And if you want to break it down to a very, very minute detail, Mara's hair.
Yeah.
Watch how the hair changes to each color scheme in the movie. Just that is how the movie also changes too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say in her push-up bra, but
She does switch out bras quite often.
yeah, depending on the scene, sometimes her boobs are going to the sky. Sometimes they just look comfortable.
Well, some of our eyes were up there. Thank you very much.
Well,
Not
they're in the
Chewie's,
wrong
apparently.
spot. But yeah, it's true. The color, with each realm, between the Trench, the Atlanteans, the
Sahara.
Zebul. We
Yeah,
never
Zebul.
got to see their kingdom, but
No.
their color schemes with their armor was completely different from Atlantis.
Yeah.
And
We haven't
then,
even mentioned that Dolph Lundgren rides a seahorse in this
Yeah.
movie.
And
Like I
these
said,
seahorses are scary as
The
fuck.
crazy stuff is coming for the end of the episode.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
worry, we will talk about it.
But each
It's they've been saving all the color from all the DC movies for 20 years,
Yeah.
and they just saved it up for this movie.
for
Yeah.
the fishermen and for what were the other ones?
I forget the name of the crab
The
people.
crustaceans.
Well,
Crab
and just-
people,
just-
crab people. crab people,
I'll
crab
think of it
people.
later.
Just the reveal of Atlantis itself and just as they get down and all the lights, as Aquaman's eyes change,
Yeah.
all these moments, I wasn't expecting to be so just mesmerized by
Yeah.
any of the color changes. Even when they're out on the ocean, just before they get to the trench, just how the colors pop within the darkness and the dark shading, and like how the camera handles it. It's just awe-inspiring.
And specifically for me, and then I want to start getting into more like the action and stuff. But the shot, the director James Wan and the cinematographer and pretty much everyone involved refers to it as the ant farm shot. And if you probably know what I'm talking about just by me saying that, but if not, it's when they go to the trench. It's when they dive off the boat with the flares, and they're swimming straight down to try to get away from the trench monsters. That shot, which is super far away. It is one of the most well-constructed comic book shots I have seen since the first Avengers movie, when they do the pan around of them in the city for the first time. Like, oh, that was a comic book shot. Yep. This movie has tons of them, but that one specifically is my favorite shot out of any comic book movie to date. I think it was just gorgeous. It felt like the perfect 2-page splash. I can't say enough about it.
And it had the imposing sense of doom, where it's like,
Yeah.
how are our heroes going to get out of this one?
I want you to narrate all comic book movies.
Yeah. It's just because, honestly, until we got into Infinity War and Endgame, did we have that feeling in many of the Marvel movies? We were like, well, we know they're going to get out of it.
Well, no, but I mean, that's kind of the nature of comic book. I don't want to just keep comparing this poor thing to Marvel, but it's I see what you mean, though. But like, this one definitely had those moments of like, they're fucked.
Yeah.
I think we can even spread it out to even just the genre of the movies that these all play in together. Like, I haven't seen shots like that.
Yeah.
I haven't been that oh shit. I get those moments in like horror films for fun, and seeing
And
they're
honestly,
surrounded and it's like, oh my god. But this gut punch of a moment, just it was almost like even Godzilla, the remake, where the divers were jumping from the Marines were jumping from the sky, and they had the choir singing.
Yeah.
And you saw the flares going down. It's like, that's moments that should be in these.
Yeah.
It's moments of like pure like desperation of, we don't know how we're going to get out of this. Just go down.
Yeah. It was great.
And also the moment was like, I think audibly it was also subdued too, right? Didn't they cut the music down a little bit? Like, that level of restraint amplified that scene so much more.
Yeah. There's moments like that make me go, this is why people loved this movie. Because they just did things differently and better than we've seen. And especially in such a tired genre. But speaking of the movie itself, I kind of want to dive into more of just the actual characters and like the action sequences that come with the characters. And I want to start with Black Manta. For those of you who don't know Black Manta, he is usually like the quintessential, at least in my opinion, Aquaman villain. Like, that's kind of like the one he always kind of goes after.
Oh, okay.
Kind of not necessarily the most threatening villain, but the arch nemesis.
Yeah, like he always has the most personal stake with him. And Ocean Master there too, which is why they're both kind of there.
I'm coming for you, Dr. Venture.
Yeah, and I think when I first heard of this movie and I heard that Black Manta was going to be in it, I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're just doing that too soon or if it's going to be okay. And I feel like they did a great job of being aware that they're too soon and just using him for one thing. And like, no, we're just really just setting him up to be a bigger character later.
Yeah.
Like, so we want to show why he hates Aquaman, show him try to fight Aquaman and realize how much work he has to do. And that's where we're going to leave it. And I think that was genius.
As long as there's a payoff.
Yeah, hopefully there will be a payoff. I think they will, but we don't know.
And they roped that into Aquaman's maturity.
Yeah.
Of where he goes from the... Even though you understand why he walked away and left his dad there and stuff, because they did cause the situation, but to be a hero, you always need to rise above your ego.
It was an interesting kind of mirror of Batman Begins, when he's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you.
Yeah.
And and he learned from that.
Yeah.
Like, there are characters who can do more than just be Batman.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, where he had to learn to rise above his own ego, and you can't be a king until you do that.
Yeah.
A good king, at least.
Yeah, and I even like the callback to it of like well, that wasn't your fault. He's like, yeah, it doesn't feel that way though. Like, he knows that he fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was a good payoff of that. Like, he learned a lesson for sure.
And especially because it did a good job showing that he hadn't forgotten it. Because most of the movie just kind of this campy, fun ridiculousness, and then we finally have that one moment where they sit down and talk, and it's like, oh no, he's carrying this stuff with him, which is nice. It's kind of nice to see that of the character. The guy who doesn't carry anything with him, and I think is fascinating, is Ocean Master. Good old Patrick Wilson in one of the craziest roles he's ever been in, where he plays somebody younger than Aquaman.
Even though he's like
But he's older
7 years older.
Yeah, although he's 4 or 5 years older. I don't think he's 7, but he is 7 years younger than his mom, which
He's
is
40,
fascinating.
He's 45, and I think Aquaman's like 38.
Okay, yeah.
Or-
I know he's 7 years younger than Nicole Kidman, which just had to be hysterical on set of like, hey, Mom.
This is so silly.
Babies having babies.
I mean, he's a mama's boy.
Yeah.
He's a mama's boy who just created this thing that his mom never truly loved him because he had this other brother that she was protecting the entire time that she was his mother, apparently. And I don't understand the timeline, how old he was when they put her in the trench.
Because I think he was after. He's little brother, right?
Yeah, little brother.
So he had to have been at least 6, maybe, when they banished her. Because, I mean, they had a relationship. He remembers her clearly and everything. So it's not like the dad... I mean, there's the terrible implication that she was essentially raped, and it really sucks because...
I don't think they were going that route, but I could see
It's a
people
forced
taking it.
marriage, and then
Yeah.
she was... the only way for her to escape her bonds was to produce an heir. There's a lot of baggage there that you don't want to go into because it gets real dark. But... And yeah, he feels rejected by her. So then he also feels rejected by his people because he's not the firstborn. So therefore, like, that's a lot of the drive for him, I think, in this movie. Is like he's going to prove to them that he's the right king by stopping those terrible people above water on ground that's polluting and destroying their waters.
Yeah.
So it's all about him either trying to win his mother's approval or just win his people's approval.
Which, I mean, theoretically, he already has, and he's just unaware of it, and he's his own worst enemy. And I like that in a villain. And I especially like it out of Ocean Master. Like, Ocean Master has always been kind of a little ridiculous in the books. Like, you just look at his mask. Like, he's kind of a bonkers character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that his eyebrows move in the mask, though.
That was really awesome.
And it's interesting seeing that actor do something along these lines. It's a little bit more bonkers.
Yeah.
That can get crazy enough to be shouting at Aquaman in a full speed, like, lancing thing. And I call it the moment of any of these movies where they all just shout at each other uncontrollably.
But he does it like 6 times throughout the movie.
He gets to have 6 times. I feel like he'll probably be overshadowed when people continue to talk about this movie.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily fair because I think he's putting a lot of interesting things into it.
But he always does. I mean, I love Patrick
Wilson's
Wilson.
an amazing actor.
Yeah, and he's really good with James Wan. Like, they've worked together how many times now? Like, I've lost track. Like, they're obviously good together.
He's made, 4 Insidious movies?
3. I think.
3?
I don't think he's in 4.
Okay.
I honestly don't remember. I only saw the first 2. I never saw
yeah.
the third one. But I saw both the Conjuring movies.
Huh.
Let's actually talk about the Kraken a little bit. I'm not sure how much there is really to say about her, but there's something just so wonderful about getting Julie Andrews in this movie that I feel like if we don't at least mention it, I'll be a little disappointed in us.
How do you get Julie Andrews in a movie? I never even looked
And
it
how do you
up.
pitch it to her? I'm curious how you pitch this to her to be the ancient Kraken.
Yeah, I remember when it was announced that she was in it, like, Julie Andrews is joining Aquaman and apparently voicing a very important role. And I remember reading that and just the whole movie going like, who the hell is she going to voice? And then as we got closer and I'm like, oh, I know exactly who she's going to voice. That's pretty awesome.
I mean, just to make the end big bad boss, whatever, a woman
And Julie Andrews
is
of all
a
women.
big deal, honestly. When
Yeah.
you think about it. When does that happen? When was the last time that happened? I can't even think of it at the top of my head. This is when I'm first thinking about it. But
And not only that, the villains don't die.
No.
Like, that's a 1-2 punch of, like, I don't know, things I like in these movies. I've been long tired of villain per movie, villain dies formula.
Yeah.
And especially resolving the conflict with the punches. Whereas this is resolving the conflict by ideals and talking. And I've gotten really into that more lately.
Well, because we've seen the other ones so much, and getting it a little bit different has been great. But I still think the punching in this movie is very good.
Oh, yeah. But to end it that way, in a sense, it's interesting.
Yeah.
you would think it'd be anticlimactic, but it was like, hell yeah, you diplomacied.
Well, the last act of this thing is anything but anticlimactic. The fucking Lord of the Rings style underwater fight with people on sharks and orcas and crab people, and then the Kraken comes in at some point. It is the most bonkers fight sequence I've ever seen in a movie because it keeps one-upping itself throughout the whole thing. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I freaking love their trident off or whatever on top of the ship at the end. Just when Ocean Master jumps up onto the ship and lands, and you see the propellers in front of him. His cape is flowing behind him. He does the slow stand-up looking back at Aquaman. And that entire moment, I'm like, this is fucking good comic book.
Yeah.
Like,
and they had that when it was all said and done, and Arthur's kneeling, doing the samurai pose, anime pose at the end, where like the winning blow has been struck. Who falls? Kind of thing. Like I eat that shit up.
Yeah.
Cinematically and comic book wise, it's pure gold. I've been saying that.
It's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
Since we've seen Pikachu, I just keep saying that. And I think it's funny to think of the Kraken as Mary Poppins' like ultimate evolution form.
Oh yeah.
Because what's left after that?
Yeah. Well, that actually kind of brings up a very good point that we should move into before we say goodbye to this thing. Is where the hell do they go from here? Like, you look at a movie this
Space.
big and crazy.
It's only down from here.
They've already gone to the center of the earth.
Yeah.
We must go deeper.
If I'm not mistaken, haven't they mentioned they don't really want to do more team-up movies like Justice League? They're going to focus on independent stories?
Yeah.
It's not that they don't want to, it's that they just want to get these done. So they're actually they're thinking about building an Aquaman universe. That's why the Trench movie is coming out before Aquaman 2.
Really?
And then
I would rather have the Flash movie before any of those, or any other movies, but
I mean, I'm all board. I'm on board for pretty much every movie they have coming out in the next 2-3 years. With I think Joker looks good. I know I'm apparently insane for saying that, but I think it looks good.
No, looks good.
I think the Birds of Prey looks awesome, and then I'm of course crazy excited for Wonder Woman. So all of those look great to me. So I'd much rather Aquaman 2 or Flash instead of the Trench movie, but I don't need it before any of these other ones.
And I'm also okay with this pace. This kind of they've slowed down the pace. They're not building to something. You don't have to. What's the next movie? What's it going to do?
Yeah, there's no overarching connector, which will I think is going to be good for a while.
Yeah.
And if the Trench ends up being its own standalone experience with normies, like if some fishermen run amok with the Trench, and it's just its own horror film that's in this universe but has nothing to do with any of the superheroes, that'll actually be very interesting.
Yeah.
Because we haven't gotten a comic book with quotations movie like that yet.
No.
I know that they've tried it with some TV, because there are superheroes in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, they tried it with the comically bad Alan Tudyk show, Powerless,
and that was supposed to be about cleanup people. I didn't watch it.
No, that was just about Bruce Wayne's cousin working in Gotham City. It just happened.
Dealing with everything.
Yeah. It was not very good.
Which is too bad because the premise sounded cool.
Yeah,
it didn't last long.
No.
So. But yeah, we haven't done any like stories of just the common folk dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, so that'd be interesting. I'm into it. They're apparently very on board. They're very excited about the idea they have. So cool. I'm into it. But for Aquaman 2, I have no idea. And I've read a lot of Aquaman books. I have no idea.
I mean,
that was kind of what I got out of it, because I knew that Ocean Master was one of the big bads, and obviously they used Black Manta. So I guess it's kind of like if you compare it to Leaf Blowers, my arch nemesis. No, like compare it to Doctor Strange.
I don't even know how.
And that Doctor Strange in the first movie ended up fighting the giant demon monster, and then in the second movie it seemed like they were setting up, he's going to fight the other sorcerer, Mordo.
Yeah, it kind of feels like
so
that.
It's kind of like taking it a step down for him to like square up against his equal instead of his greater. I don't know. It's weird.
Or a battle of ideologies instead of just the flat out battle. Like scaling it back, I'm always for that. Like if you go big in the beginning, we have enough patience to get more character. Like there's a lot of character that we're missing that would be cool to fill in the gaps for people who kind of glazed through Justice League and liked, Aquaman in it, But it's like we don't get, other than the fairy tale story of the fisherman or the lighthouse keeper and the wife, kind of that thing. We don't get much more about him, Aquaman, as a character.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get enough for the movie to work. But yeah,
his ideas have now been his way of how he does things has just been handed to him. He's set, but that can always be challenged.
Yeah,
like his idea of ruling, like he can always mature more, and I think that would be a great way to go.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's pretty much everything we need to cover on this thing, right? Is there anything we've missed that you guys really wanted to bring up?
No, we covered everything I was excited about.
We've talked about it. We've circled around it a little bit. Fight scenes that I can see what's going on. I really liked that. Every moment in the fight was choreographed, and I just got to give a shout out to that because that's hard to do, and I love seeing it.
Yeah. They were restrictive on edits, and they pulled back a lot.
Back.
All of that I appreciate.
Everyone, when you do action, pull back. We want to see the things.
And every action sequence they're always engineered. I don't think they actually did them in camera, but had at least one very long take that was always really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Especially the Nicole Kidman one in the beginning. I think
that was
might be
amazing.
my favorite. That one is so good.
It is.
Like if this movie sets a precedent going forward, I would be very happy with that.
Absolutely. All right, then I think it's time for quotes. And I can go first because mine's right away.
All right.
And mine, it's been, I think it was in every trailer. It's been used a lot. It's kind of a sploosh moment for a lot of people.
My man.
But it's right. It's right when he lands in the submarine and he turns around and goes, "Permission to come aboard."
Yeah.
So good.
That's good.
That also is accompanied by a slight guitar riff, which they saved it for those moments, and I think that's what won me to those lines.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I can go next. It's the Indiana Jones section of this, or the Mummy section of this, where they're putting the device in there, and she pulls the sweat from his body to get it, and he's just like, "Show off! I could have just peed on it." Like, perfect. I'm glad someone
sums up the male-female dynamic in that whole movie.
The look on her face was just perfect.
Yeah. I'm going to go away from the jokey quips because there were 1,000 that I loved, but there was a little bit of heart in this movie too. So when Mera is kind of encouraging Aquaman to go back and rule Atlantis, he's questioning his ability to be a king and if they need another king, and she says they need a hero. A king fights for his nation. A hero fights for everybody. So inspirational.
I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Last but not least,
I love the divide between, societies pretty much, because at different times during the movie, Mara's always like, "What are you talking about?"
and it is the flowers.
Or the Pinocchio.
Yeah.
And it is great when they're in the ship and he's like, "There's someone on our 6." And she's just like, "What does that even mean? Bad guys are behind us. Bad guys are behind us. Just say that."
Bad guys are behind us.
Like, that's great. It's great.
They played off.
Yeah, I think that was actually a Top Gun quote, wasn't it? Like he makes a few movie references in this. I love it, and
There's
no one from
multiple movies that
Atlantis gets
reference
the
in
movie
this.
references.
Yeah, I kind of miss all of them, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
This is going to be open to interpretation, but I think everyone around this table has been doing this long enough that we can handle it. Adventure movies. Any movie you deem an adventure movie.
That's a good one.
I'll go with mine. The Mummy Returns. I think I just took Brian's.
If only the audience could see the faces at this table.
But like if Justice League was
Part of the whole reason I picked this.
This is why you always go first, isn't it?
Yep.
Did I just stomp on you?
It's okay.
I
Awesome.
come up with a different one.
I have to think
he
now.
deserves
No,
it,
it's cool.
Chewie. No.
We turned it around on Brian. This is delicious.
Turn it around on him. Make him come up with something.
Yeah, I'll be okay. I'll get something.
If Justice League was the first movie, this is the second. This is Mummy Returns.
How about this? I'll go
And
next
it's where-
too. Tintin. Adventures of
I didn't
Tintin.
get to finish my comparison.
Oh, finish your comparison.
No, it's done now. I don't want to.
John was too eager for the joke.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
I am not. Went in deep with that one.
Ryan, do you have one?
Not yet.
Okay.
Wait. Are you actually saying Tintin? Is that actually?
That is actually my answer, Tintin. Yeah,
Because I swear you've used that before.
I have,
on
but
the
it's
show,
it's
yeah.
Are we talking about the animated movie
Yeah.
that we fell asleep during?
Well, you and I fell asleep during it.
So
yeah,
not a
the
good
whole
review.
same level of like action in that scene where like basically all of one area just completely collapses and they're chasing down it. It's basically the Italy scene in Aquaman.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Ryan, I have one if you don't.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead, and it's open to interpretation, and I hope it's the one you're picking.
It's not. I guess.
It's more of an action than an adventure, but John Wick, because the entire time I'm just going, hell yes, I love this movie.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Definitely not the one I was going for. I'm going
Good.
for Kubo and the Two Strings.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it's mostly just on the journey aspect of it. They both have this goal they have to go do, and then they just start going from different environment to different environment to different environment to tell their story. And this one did a very similar thing. On that note, everyone should still see Missing Link, the Leica movie that nobody saw, which is very
Okay.
And the one that no one advertised. And
Yeah, that's why no
I
one saw
literally
it.
have never heard of it.
It's in theaters
Exactly.
now, and nobody saw it.
It's like they purposely bombed
Okay.
it for insurance reasons.
Yeah, it's kind of a producer's thing going on here.
Well, Brian, you even told me about it. You're like, oh, you should check out Missing Link. And I was like, oh, that's out already?
Yep.
I had heard about it in like early development stage, and then like
And then nothing.
found out it had been out for a week.
Yep.
I learned that it was a thing by seeing T-shirts when we went to AMC and went, "What's that?"
Yeah, it was weird. Anyhow, weird tangent. So that's it for this week. We did it. We've talked Aquaman. I finally talked about Aquaman.
We whet our appetite for Aquaman.
Aha! We really dove into that one. Like I said, I wasn't done with the dive jokes. So plugs. Ryan, anything to plug?
You should check out this podcast called After the Hype. You
Ooh.
can check them out at athpod.com. There's a whole network of podcasts they have going now, and I'm enjoying all of them.
Yeah. I will plug, of course, Venture Brothers podcast. Samwise, of course. I'll let John plug the other one. But I do want to bring up one that we are launching in the next few weeks. I'm trying to figure out when exactly to let it go, but he's been crushing it. And he's just been recording things like crazy. I have to record an episode with him in 2 days, which I'm really excited about. I said have to. That's the wrong way to phrase it.
Oh, bummer.
But we have Brock, our wonderful note taker from Venture Bros, starting his own show called Damage Boost, where he will talk to people about gaming. So not about the gaming industry specifically, but just about being a gamer. He's talked to some YouTube streamers. We're going to sit down and talk about what it's like to be a dad and play video games. He's got some really good ideas, and he's doing a really good job, and I'm very excited for him. So be sure to check out Damage Boost when it starts dropping here, probably within the next month, I'm going to say. Probably in the next 4 weeks, we will have an episode drop in our ATH feed before it spans out to its own thing. But so far, I've listened to a few of it. I helped him cut one of them. I think Ryan has talked to him about cutting one of them. If not, he's supposed to email Ryan at some point here. But it's very exciting stuff, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
And then also Demon Days, an actual play podcast, where it's all about that tiefling and demon stuff. We got a good crew going and a cool adventure. I'm excited to see where their character's going to go next. They're entering a big city and about to get their shenanigans on pretty quickly where we're recording at, and then there's still some stuff that is still to air. I'm excited where it's all going to go.
Very exciting stuff. Chewie, anything to plug?
Awesome.
That's a no. Okay.
Watch Superstore, I guess. I don't know if it'll still might be done by the time this airs.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Watch it on Hulu.
There you go.
Hulu.
Catch up on Superstore.
And start a petition online for that, because we didn't get picked up for a full season. So maybe we'll get a full season if, like, the internet fandom
Yeah,
cares.
put a petition to good use.
Yeah. And stop complaining about Game of Thrones, everybody.
Because that's already done with. That's happened.
Done.
Can-
We saw
wait.
it. We
Can
all
we
know that
read-
Danny turned into a dragon and ate John. We all
Right.
saw it
Oh,
happen.
man.
And then the
I didn't
dragon
watch
got
it
ate
yet.
by the Holy Grail rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then Ghost came in with his own like backpack ballista and shot everyone in the neck. It was amazing.
That was nuts. But when the Green Ranger showed up, I was just really happy. Like, it was just so nice to see Power Rangers represented in Game of Thrones.
I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that spinoff.
yeah, that's the dragon we want to
Yeah.
see.
Just, oh my God, this is about to be the best show ever. That guy's playing a knife like a flute. This is amazing. So with that, I'm going to
How does he even blow through that mask?
Seriously, the Night King does. Like, you look at the Night King's design, and he'd fit into that world perfectly.
Oh, he totally would.
Yeah. him and Rita
Make
hanging
my
out.
monsters grow.
Yeah.
I think we've ran out of things to say. I'm gonna say
Yep,
bye.
for sure.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.